Dr. Mara Hayes stood at the edge of the bustling trading station plaza, her heart heavy with doubt and her mind racing with questions she could barely voice. The station hung like a metal blossom in space corridors of steel and neon that pulsed, with the footsteps of traders, diplomats, and travelers from 100 worlds. She had come seeking nothing more than a routine procurement of rare medical biogels, but fate had other plans. In a dimly lit alcove, she saw the child, no larger than a human toddler, with fragile limbs and skin that shimmered faintly like moonlight on water. The child's silver eyes blinked up at her through a spill of crimson blood. Without thinking, Mara knelt beside the small figure. Protocol flashed through her mind, warning her to wait for station medics. But the child trembled with every breath, and mercy spoke louder than protocol. Carefully, Mara lifted the alien into her arms. There was a soft, otherworldly cry as the child's body relaxed, as if sensing safety in her touch. The crowd around them parted like water around a boat. Curious stares and hushed whispers following her every move. For the first time in her career, Mara felt the barrier between doctor and patient dissolve entirely. She carried the child through the busy corridors to her private quarters in the station's scientific. Along the way, she exchanged sharp words with security officers who demanded her badge and clearance codes. Mara's voice, calm but firm, would not yield. "I am a licensed xenobiologist. This child needs immediate care at the laboratory." Doors, she swiped her card, ignoring the pounding of her own pulse. Inside, sterile lights reflected off stainless steel tables, and rows of vials held samples from every corner of the galaxy. Yet nothing felt real, except the tiny form tucked against her chest. Gently, she laid the child on a soft medical cot and began her assessment. Each pulse point told a story of vulnerability and resilience. Though the child species, the Dalari, were renowned for their intelligence and grace, but Mara knew little else. She called up reference files on her tablet: glowing crystal forests, floating sky islands, and a people who spoke in light and song. Yet here, in this stark room, the child was simply alone and afraid. Mara's hands moved with steady purpose as she cleaned the wounds, applied healing salves, and monitored vital signs. Night fell outside the station's viewport, but Mara did not notice. She worked by the dim glow of her scanner's readout, humming a soft melody from her childhood to soothe both herself and her patient. Each time the child stirred, Mara offered a gentle word in every language she knew, Earth's many tongues, and the halting symbols she found in Dalari glossaries. At last, the child's eyelids fluttered open, and those silvery eyes met hers. A faint smile curved the child's lips, a gesture Mara recognized across all cultures. In that moment, the weight of isolation lifted from her shoulders. Mara sat beside the cot, long after her instruments signaled stable vitals. She realized how small gestures carried great power: the warmth of a hand on a fevered brow, the promise of safety in a stranger's eyes. As the station lights dimmed for its nightly cycle, she whispered, "I promise to keep you safe." The child's fingers curled around hers, drawing courage from the simple touch, far above the trading decks. The station's loudspeakers shifted to quiet music, but Mara scarcely heard it. Her thoughts were already far away, wondering where the child came from and who would miss her when she did not return. In the stillness, she made a silent vow. She would defy protocol, endure any consequence, and bridge the chasm between two worlds to protect this fragile life. Little did she know that promise would one day echo across the stars, calling home an entire fleet. And so, under the glow of alien constellations, seen through reinforced glass, a human and an alien child began a journey of trust and hope, one born from mercy, destined to reshape the fate of two species. Back on Earth, Mara arrived at the sprawling research complex beneath a sky streaked with sunset haze. The shuttle doors hissed open, and she stepped onto solid ground, her legs trembling as if she had left a part of herself floating among the stars. She carried Oren's blanket rolled tight in her pack, a silent reminder of the tiny life she had rescued. Yet the world around her felt muted, colleagues greeting her with polite nods that did not reach their eyes. The hum of computers, seeming distant, as if she were still drifting in the void between worlds. Inside her private lab, Mara unpacked the few personal items she had brought: a framed photo of her family, botanical samples from Earth's rainforests, and the tablet containing Daylari reference texts. She placed Orin's blanket on the sleek countertop, its woven fibers shimmering under fluorescent lights. Late at night, she would trace those threads with fingertips heavy with memory, recalling the child's soft sigh as she held her for the first time. Sleep eluded Mara. Her dreams were filled with crystalline forests and silver-eyed whispers, urging her to return. One morning, Mara found a message encoded on her secure channel. It was written in the flowing glyphs of the Daylari script, each curve glowing faintly on her screen. The message thanked her for saving one of their own and begged her not to forget them. Beneath it, another line read simply, "Return." No sender was named, only a small symbol resembling a spiral of light. Mara's heart pounded as she stared. At the words, she had promised safety and care. But now the call of duty tugged at her soul in ways she could not ignore. Her colleagues watched her with growing concern. Dr. Lin, her closest friend in the xenobiology division, cornered Mara by the sample storage bay. "You've changed," Lin said softly, eyes scanning the edges of Mara's expression. "You've been spending countless hours on those alien files. You sure this is wise?" Mara forced a calm smile and shook her head. "I can't explain now, but I believe there is more I can do." Lin's brow furrowed, but she said nothing more, leaving Mara alone with her thoughts. Night after night, Mara dreamt of the Daylari homeworld. In her visions, she walked beneath towering crystal trees that chimed like bells in the breeze. Sought. Bioluminescent clouds drifted overhead, painting the sky in hues of violet and gold. Orin appeared at her side, older now, her silver eyes bright with both hope and fear. Mara reached for the child, but the moment her fingers brushed Orin's, the dream dissolved, leaving her with a hollow ache in her chest and the echo of unspoken pleas. Each morning, Mara woke before dawn. Drawing solace from the pale light of early Earth, she studied Daylari physiology, searching for ways to send ADA, perhaps a microbial cure for an unknown illness, or advanced filters to cleanse tainted air. She drafted proposals for a mission to the Daylari world, outlining equipment needs and diplomatic protocols. Her presentation was meticulous, but she knew the United Earth Council would dismiss it as wishful thinking. Still, she persisted, driven by the memory of the child's fragile grasp on her finger. One evening, as the complex's lights dimmed for its nightly power cycle, Mara stood by the window, gazing at the distant stars. She cradled Orin's blanket to her heart, whispering promises to the silent cosmos. In that quiet moment, she made her choice. She would not wait for approval or permission. She would journey back to the stars, carrying human kindness as her guide. And perhaps, years after saving one small life, she would help save an entire people. With resolve shining in her eyes, Mara turned from the window and began to pack. Thus began Mara's next chapter, a journey fueled by compassion and the unbreakable bond between human and alien, as Earth's twin moons rose into the night sky. She knew she was leaving more than a world behind. She was answering a call that spanned the vastness of space, a call born from mercy and destined to unite to civilizations in hope. Orin awoke each morning to the gentle glow of Mara's bedside lamp and the soft hum of life support equipment. No longer the fragile child Mara first found on the station, Orin now moved with confidence and grace. Her silver eyes sparkled as she practiced human words, repeating phrases that balanced awkwardly on her tongue. "Good morning, Dr. Mara," she said one day, bowing her head in the polite Daylari way, before breaking into a shy smile. Mara's heart swelled with pride at each new sound Orin mastered. Their days fell into a comforting rhythm. Over breakfast fruit compotes and tea for Mara, synthesized nutrient gel for Orin, they shared laughter and stories. Orin spoke of her homeworld's crystal forests and floating sky isles, describing how sunlight fractured through the trees into rainbows on the ground. Mara listened, enthralled, and in turn told Orin about Earth's oceans and forests, of birds that sang, and flowers that bloomed in spring. With every tale, their bond grew deeper. Two souls from distant worlds finding common ground and wonder. In Mara's lab, Oren eagerly helped with experiments. She learned to prepare slides under the microscope, her small fingers steady as she adjusted focus, each breakthrough discovering how a human enzyme could aid Daylari healing, or crafting a salve to soothe Oren's occasional homesickness, filled them both with hope. Mara admired Oren's quick mind and gentle curiosity. When the child hesitated before a new procedure, Mara placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder, whispering, "I believe in you." Those words became a mantra for Oren, empowering her to try again. Evenings were for games and quiet reflection. On soft cushions in Mara's living room, they played holochess, the glowing pieces hovering above the board. Oren laughed delightedly. When she trapped Mara's queen, and Mara pretended indignation before sweeping Oren into a warm embrace. In that moment, every barrier between human and Daylari melted away. They were simply friends, sharing joy in each other's company. Yet beneath their happiness lingered weighty truths. Oren would sometimes pause, gazing out the window at the blinking stars, her expression distant. When Mara asked what troubled her, Oren's silver eyes filled with sorrow. "My people suffer," she whispered. "Our skies darken. We need help." Mara held Oren's hand and promised she would not let the child's hopes fade. She reassured Oren that together they would find a way to bring aid. As the months passed, Oren's features matured, graceful cheekbones, a thoughtful tilt to her head, and a quiet strength in her posture. She drafted simple Daylari messages. On Mara's console, pleading for information on Earth's medical advances, Mara taught her to encode and send transmissions safely, weaving encryption protocols into the messages. Each time Oren hit send, her chest rose and fell with hope, and Mara felt that hope as if it were her own heartbeat. One night, Oren presented Mara with a holomap of the Daylari star charts, traced in glowing lines of light. She pointed to a distant nebula and spoke of lost resources and fading cities. Tears shimmered in her eyes as she spoke of her people's plight. Mara squeezed Oren's hand and whispered, "We will not fail them." Together under the soft light of the lab, Human and Daylari pledged to turn compassion into action and to prepare for a journey that could change two worlds forever. Mara stood before the United Earth Council's grand chamber, her heart pounding beneath her crisp white lab coat. Tall pillars of polished metal rose around her, and holographic screens displayed data on distant worlds. She cleared her throat and began her plea, "The Daylari face a threat that our science can help solve." She spoke of Oren's bravery, of bioluminescent forests, now fading to gray, and of a child's hope entrusted to human hands. Voice was steady, but each word carried the weight of a promise made beneath alien stars. Despite her passion, the counselors exchanged polite glances. One by one, they cited budget constraints, diplomatic concerns, and the risks of deep space travel. When Mara finished, a thinly veiled expression of regret passed across the lead counselor's face. "Your proposal is thorough," he said, "but we cannot commit resources at this time." Mara bowed her head, feeling the sting of disappointment as the gavel fell. She left the chamber with clenched fists and a single oath on her lips. She would not fail her promise. Back in her lab, Mara confided only in Dr. Lin and engineer Raj Patel. Lin's warm eyes glistened with respect as Mara explained her plan. "To bypass bureaucracy, we will travel ourselves," Mara said softly. Raj nodded, his fingers tapping nervously on the console. "I can retrofit a research vessel for Daylari life support," he offered. Together they sketched designs late into the night. Modular habitat pods, multi-atmosphere filters, and translation arrays built from Oren's reference data. Each component was a lifeline between two worlds. As word spread through the Xenobiology division, a small crew volunteered to join. There was Captain Alina Joe, whose steady command had guided countless scientific missions. Medic Dr. Omar Reyes, whose gentle manner comforted even the most anxious patient. And communications specialist Ayla Santos, who spoke 6 human languages and had mastered the basics of Daylari speech. Each carried their own reasons. Some personal, some professional, but all shared Mara's conviction that mercy knew no borders. In the orbital shipyard, the team watched as Raj's retrofit transformed the sleek research vessel into a flying sanctuary. Walls glowed softly with bioluminescent panels tuned to Dallery preference. Pods hummed with oxygen mixtures tailored for silver-eyed lungs. Holodisplays lined the halls, ready to project vivid simulations of homeworld landscapes. Mara ran her hand along the cool metal plating, imagining Orin stepping aboard and breathing freely for the first time. A shiver of hope passed through her chest. Before departure, Mara and Orin shared a quiet moment in the hangar bay. The child, no longer fragile, but radiant with grown-up strength, wrapped her slender arms around Mara's waist. "You carry our future in your hands," Orin whispered, her silver eyes shining. Mara pressed her cheek to Orin's soft forehead. "And you carry mine," she replied. Around them, the crew prepared final checks, the ship's engines pulsing with latent power. In that embrace, two worlds intertwined, bound by trust and determination. At last the hatch sealed, and the vessel eased from its berth into open space. Mara peered through the viewport at Earth's blue glow, feeling both sorrow and excitement. She whispered, "We're coming home," to Orin, whose bright smile reflected in the glass. As the ship's engines roared to life, propelling them toward distant nebulae and broken crystal forests, Mara held on to her promise more tightly than ever. In the quiet hum of the ship, hope took flight, an unbreakable bond guiding them into the unknown. The research vessel slid out of hyperspace into a field of shimmering light, and Captain Alina Jo steadied her breath as she gazed at the Dallery homeworld below. Vast forests of crystal trees stretched across emerald continents, their branches glowing like lanterns in twilight. Above the planet, sleek Dallar's ships hovered in silent formation, their hulls reflecting starlight. Orin pressed her forehead against the viewport, her silver eyes wide with wonder and relief.
"They waited
for us," she whispered. Mara stood beside her, feeling a surge of pride, and aught was as if two hearts, human and Dallery, beat as one. The vessel descended through the upper atmosphere, buffeted by gentle winds charged with bioluminescent spores. Each gust painted the viewports in swirling blues and purples like living paintings brought to life. Inside the ship, the crew watched. In respectful silence, Dr. Omar Reyes monitored life support, ensuring the filtered air suited both human lungs and Orin's delicate physiology. Ala Santos adjusted the translation array, her fingers flying over holographic controls to fine-tune every frequency. The hum of technology blended with the chorus of unseen birds, welcome song for returning exiles, as the landing gear touched. Down on a polished landing platform, silent Dallery figures emerged from the waiting ships. They moved with grace, their long limbs and crystalline skin catching the light in soft rainbows. Orin stepped forward, her small hand held out in greeting. Dallery elder, with eyes like liquid silver, knelt and placed one delicate hand in Orin's, then extended a hand toward Mara. Words flowed between them in light waves and soft tones. And Ayla's array translated the greeting, "Welcome, protector of our hope." Tears welled in Mara's eyes as she returned the bow, overwhelmed by the honor of this moment. Under crystal-arched canopies, the team was led through a grove of living sculpture streets that chimed like wind harps when the breeze passed through. Every step felt sacred as the Dallery guides wove lights along the pathways, opening petals that released gentle fragrances. Orin walked beside Mara, pointing to familiar landmarks from her childhood memories. "This is where I first learned to sing," she said, her voice soft with nostalgia. Mara squeezed Orin's hand, understanding the depth of loss and longing carried in each memory. They entered the Grand Council Hall, its walls carved from a single colossal crystal that pulsed. With the planet's heartbeat, Dallery leaders Stahl and Ethereal gathered in a circle around a central dais. The air was thick with hope and caution. Mara's team assembled before them, each member bearing gifts of technology and medicine. Orin stepped onto the dais, her voice trembling yet strong as she spoke of survival and unity. With each word, the room brightened, as if the crystal itself recognized the promise being made. After the ceremony, the Dallery provided the visitors with a panoramic view of their world. Holographic displays showed regions blighted by the dark, Nebula's poison forests reduced to brittle shards and rivers blackened with ash. Oren's eyes filled with tears at the sight of her homeland's suffering, and Mara placed a comforting arm around her shoulders. "We will heal this world," Mara vowed, her voice firm. Around them, Human and Daylari, scientists and engineers began to form plans, their minds united in purpose. That night, under a sky alive with dancing lights, the human crew camped among the crystal groves. Fires of bioluminescent moss cast soft glows on their faces as they shared stories around communal tables. Oren laughed freely, her joy rekindling a warmth that had long been missing from her people. Mara watched her friend at the center of both worlds, feeling gratitude for the journey that had brought them here. In the silent hum of the alien night, hope took root once more, and the true work of healing could finally begin. Under the glow of twin moons, the healing efforts began in earnest. In the Grand Council Hall's annex, Human and Daylari scientists worked side by side. Long tables bore rows of delicate vials filled with glowing liquids, experimental salves, an airborne catalyst designed to neutralize the dark nebula's poison. Mara moved between stations, offering gentle corrections and words of encouragement. Whenever a Daylari researcher hesitated, she would place a steady hand on their shoulder and whisper, "We learn together." Each shared smile strengthened the fragile bond of trust between two peoples. Outside, in a clearing ringed by crystal trees, engineer Raj Patel oversaw the construction of cleansing drones. They were sleek, spider-like machines, their legs tipped with filters that pulsed with soft blue light. Oren knelt beside Raj, her silver eyes alight with curiosity as she carefully tightened a panel on one drone's chassis. "Balance is key," she said, echoing Raj's earlier instructions. When Raj praised her steady hands, Oren beamed her, laughter a bright melody in the cool night air. Mara watched them, her chest swelling with pride. The child she once protected was now a vital contributor to their mission. Tests began at dawn. A fleet of 20 drones lifted off, their lights shifting to a steady green as they entered the poisoned nebula haze. Captain Elena Jo guided them. Remotely from the command center, her voice calm as she relayed telemetry data. The drones faced their first challenge when the nebula's acidic mist corroded a filter's seal, triggering a critical failure. Dr. Omar Reyes and his Daylari counterpart, Solara, worked frantically to recalibrate the drone's coatings, their fingers flying over holoconsoles. When Omar's adjustments restored the filter's integrity, Solara's clear laughter rang out a sound of pure relief. Mara felt her heart quicken as the drones re-entered the haze. This time, they held their formation, their filters glowing. With renewed strength, data streamed back, toxin levels dropping, local skies clearing. Small clouds of bioluminescent spores drifted free, dancing in the sun's rays for the first time in years. Tears formed in Mara's eyes as she watched the live feed. "We're working," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. Cross the room, Oren clutched Mara's hand, both of them sharing a perfect moment of triumph born from hope and perseverance. In the days that followed, healing spread. Daylari healers applied the new salves to afflicted forests, watching as crystal branches regained their luminescent glow and fragile seedlings sprouted anew. Human engineers repaired water channels, allowing once blackened rivers to flow clear and cold. Mara walked beside Solara through a grove that had been barren, tiny leaves unfurled on branches like living jewels. Solara placed a hand on Mara's arm and spoke in soft tones, translated by Ella Zaray. "Your kindness has breathed life into our world." Mara could only nod, tears shining in her eyes. At the heart of the revival stood Oren, heralded as the first Delaria human. Ambassador? She led children of both species in planting new seeds along the riverbanks, her laughter blending with the birds' songs. One afternoon she paused and turned to Mara. "Thank you for believing in me," she said quietly. Mara knelt and looked into Oren's silver eyes. "You taught me the true meaning of courage," she replied. In that exchange, years of shared struggle and growing friendship found their perfect expression as the final stages of healing unfolded. The Daylari Council convened beneath the towering crystal spires. In a ceremony of light and song, they declared a new alliance, a pledge of friendship between Earth and the Daylari homeworld. Mara stood beside Orin, their hands clasped together as elders sung ancient hymns of renewal. When the final note faded, the crowd erupted in gentle applause, a chorus of hope echoing through crystal halls. That night, Mara gazed at the restored forests from her quarters. The air was sweet with blossoms, and distant lights twinkled like stars brought down to earth. She held Orin's rolled blanket once, a symbol of vulnerability, now a keepsake of enduring promise. As she drifted to sleep, she knew their work had done more than heal a world. It had united two species in compassion, forging a bond that would guide them through the darkest nebulae of the future. The morning sun of the restored world shone through crystal spires as a distant hum grew louder above the gleaming horizon. From the skies descended the Daylari fleet, hundreds of slender ships moving in perfect formation. Their hulls caught the light and scattered it in rainbows across the green valleys below. Orin stood beside Mara on the balcony of the council hall, her silver eyes widening in awe. Mara's heart swelled as she watched ships she never imagined would return, filled with gratitude and promise. As the fleet touched down on soft moss pathways, elderly Daylari and young hatchlings spilled onto the ground, their faces alight with joy and tears. Orin squeezed Mara's hand, her voice trembling with happiness. "They came," she whispered. Mara drew Orin close, feeling the weight of every moment they had shared from that first night in the station to the long days of healing together. They watched the reunion of parents, friends, and neighbors who had longed for home. Each embrace was a silent prayer answered. The council hall's grand doors opened to welcome both fleets, human and Daylarian, to one vast ceremony. Tall pillars of living crystal glowed as dignitaries stepped forward. Earth's ambassador, Lucia Chen, bowed to the Daylari High Matriarch. In return, the matriarch offered a single crystal blossom, an ancient symbol of life and unity. Mara and Orin stood on the dais, their hands clasped, as speakers from both worlds spoke of friendship, courage, and the power of compassion. Every voice carried clear hope into the soaring vault of crystal ceilings. After formal speeches, a chorus of children from Earth and Daylari joined in song. Their voices rose together in a simple melody that wove human words and Daylari light waves, creating a new hymn for two peoples. Mara felt tears warm on her cheeks as the song washed over her. Orin's head rested against her shoulder. Their bond stronger than any oath. The children's harmony promised a future where differences healed rather than divided. As the ceremony ended, the Daylari fleet's crews came forward with gifts of seeds and crystal shards infused with healing energy. Each gift was wrapped in glowing ribbons that pulsed with life. Mara accepted a small shard etched with Earth's constellations. For guidance, the giver explained in a soft tone. Orin received a seed that would grow into a tree, echoing Earthshock. These offerings spoke of respect and shared stewardship of life across galaxies. Before the human team prepared to depart, Captain Joe and Raj joined Mara and Orin in the shipyard. The starship's hull gleamed beside the Daylari capital vessels. Orin climbed into the cockpit with Mara by her side. "Will you come back?" Orin asked, her voice small but hopeful. Mara smiled and squeezed her hand. "Yes, I will," she promised. Around them, laughter and farewells mixed with the hum of engines warming for departure. The human vessel lifted off, carrying Mara and her crew homeward. From the viewport, Mara watched the Daylari fleet rise in graceful salute before returning to their world. Orin stood at her side, her eyes reflecting the glow of the crystal forests below. In that moment, Mara understood that saving one child had become saving a civilization, and in return, that civilization had gifted humanity its greatest hope. Later, in the quiet of hyperspace, Mara sat beside Orin as they reviewed star charts for future missions. They planned to bring Daylari environmental scientists to Earth to heal damaged ecosystems with lessons learned here. Orin traced new routes with delicate fingers, her silver eyes bright with excitement. Mara placed a hand on her shoulder. "Together," she said, "we will learn and grow." Orin nodded, a small smile lighting her face. As Earth's blue glow appeared on the horizon, Mara leaned back in her seat and closed her eyes. The journey had tested her courage, but compassion had carried them farther than any starship. In her mind's eye, she saw two worlds linked by threads of kindness, each fiber stronger because it held both human and De La Rue lives. When the ship finally touched down, she would step onto Earth, not just as a scientist, but as a bridge between species, a living promise that mercy can echo across the universe.